Okay, Trevor, I think I got it. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Getting this. I believe it's on YouTube. Yeah, I think it's cool. So now we are switching to this one. We'll just have our meeting through the computer, Susan. This
Oh,
one.
okay.
Can you all see us?
No, you just went black.
Okay.
Is that's the word that you- huh.
You see us now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Good. Congratulations.
All right.
How's your little feet?
Okay, well, you can call the meeting to order now.
Okay, I will call the meeting of Wednesday, January 10th, 2024, the Salem Town Park Commission to order at, doesn't matter what time,
The time is 3:38.
at 3:38. And, should we just ask people to introduce themselves?
Yes.
Oops, what did we do? We lost the meeting up there. There we go. And also, do you maybe turn the volume off, just leave the volume on that?
How's that?
I think, uh,
No, it's weird.
do a little bit. It's not that bad.
Oh, you can continue. I'll try
At
to.
least it's not feedback. Chris, you're gonna start, introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Crystal Lauer. I am a commissioner.
And Chris, and I'm Susan Napak, I'm vice chair, filling in for Zach Hall today.
And
I'm Keith Bonda Wynn, staff liaison.
Chris,
Chris Darcy. I live in Ward 2, former member of SPAC, and I'm on the board of the Oregon Artist Series Foundation. Guest.
is there any public comment?
There was no public comment emailed to me.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda for January 10th and also the minutes from December 13th of last year. Can I make the motion to?
We don't have a quorum,
Oh.
and so we
Okay.
will just have to conduct business out of order. There's
Okay.
no actions today, so it'll just be an information meeting.
Okay.
Oh, someone else is here for me. Let me go get him.
Oh, okay, great. Ooh, an in-person meeting. Did you both have a nice new year?
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, quiet,
Yeah.
very, very quiet. Oh, hey, Annie.
You can sit over here, the camera's pointed that way.
Yeah.
We have some feedback going on, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Perfect.
hey, nice to see you. Hi. So do you wanna introduce yourself?
My name is Eduardo, Commissioner.
So we have a forum now?
Yes, we have a quorum, and now we
Okay.
can conduct business.
So we can actually backtrack to approval of consent agenda for today and the minutes from last meeting on December 13th of last year. Is the chair or whoever's filling in for the chair allowed to make the motion to accept? Okay, so we had a question of that in our neighborhood association. Anyway, I will move to accept to approve the consent agenda, and you need a second.
I will second.
Step. Approve.
No, you, call,
Oh, do
you,
we have to vote?
yeah, you have to vote,
Oh, okay.
but call for discussion. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay, and then we can.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Mm.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Approved.
Perfect.
So the next item is updates on the downtown utility box wraps. Kate?
Yes, the photographer for the city took a couple photos of one of the art pieces, and they're doing a pilot test run of printing it out and placing it on one of the structures to see if the process is working correctly. More to follow in the next month.
Okay, and I did actually, I had seen this online that was kind of pertinent that Monmouth and Independence are looking for artists to do murals on their utility boxes. They had a call for artists and just, it might be something that we can kind of in the future, ask them to do. My question also was, did they have the funding to do this already? Cause I saw it was sort of a proposed thing.
My understanding, the downtown revitalization had funding to do about 24 of these boxes to wrap as part of their kind of neighborhood revitalization. They wanted a few of the streets to represent each of the different neighborhoods somehow. And I think they did that through, like, I think images or birds were one of the sets of images, and some other types, but I'm not too sure exactly what neighborhoods are represented on there, but yeah, I got funded.
Yeah. Great. Well, if anybody's interested, you can probably go to Friends of Monmouth Independence. I saw it on their, it's Monmouth Independence Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. And they had a whole posting of asking for artists from that area to propose art for their utility boxes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, Lynn,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Lynn Takata. I'm an artist that live in Northeast Salem.
So the next item is length of mural easement requirement from 7 years to less.
Well, what I did was I brought up the question to our legal department. Because our mural program is within city code, the 7-year easement requirement is listed in the code. When talking to Mark Weinstein, our legal counsel, he mentioned that he would have to do some more work into looking as to what the legal reason behind having a 7-year minimum was. But if there is any desire for the commission to change the 7-year requirement, we would have to do a code change similar to what we did with the curvilinear building walls. And so more to come from our legal counsel on as to the reasoning why 7 years was selected. But I know other municipalities use different years so that they have more turnover of the different artwork. So. Any questions you'd like me to ask for Mark, our legal department in addition to those?
Well, maybe at the same time, if they could look into, you know, what other municipalities do and, you know, what their reasoning for it. To kind of gauge what their legal departments say about it.
Okay.
I think less time would be,
What would be, well, would it be a range that the commission would be looking forward to?
I think 4 years is good.
4 years? Okay,
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Other cities do it like 2 years and it's almost like a temporary thing.
okay. But maybe, we can work so that the commission, depending upon the nature of the mural, could determine that time period, you know? If the intent was to do a, quick turnaround community, you know, mural versus a long-term permanent kind of installation.
That would be great, so that would have, you'd have to allow for that in the code, for that kind of flexibility, and maybe the commission could be the one, the entity to decide that. That sounds good to me.
Well, I'll let our legal department know the desires of the commission, and we'll see how it reconciles with what they find out as to 7 years. Okay, cool.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think it just depends on like the funding that goes into the mural. So let's say like for some of them, they need a lift and everything and like the scale of the wall. I think those ones can stay for 7 years just because of, I guess, the energy that gets put into those as opposed to some that are like pretty easy and you can just maneuver through them pretty quick.
Okay.
So would we set criteria then? Would they, if they add, you know, do you think legal might want criteria from us ahead of time? That we would have to come up with if it were a, you know, a low wall, it was easy to work with.
Right, and I wonder how much the business would be part of that discussion as well. I mean, if they wanted something just to be a 1 to 2 year and then they could redo it after that point versus they want this to be more long-term and permanent. I think having those options would be really beneficial.
Okay.
Well, it's great that we were considering it, because I think it would make sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to the second update, length of, no, that we already did that one. Library art kiosk.
Yep, I'm not sure if you all remember, but the library was an employee of the city, David Muller, who does IT at the library, put in for a sprinkles grant for about $2,000, which will allow us to have a touch screen. I think it's 85 inches. No, not 85 inches. Less than that. But it's a touch screen that we will have posted in the library that has all the art in the collection. Unfortunately, there's no updates now. What they were doing the last time I reported was it was an IT and it was being locked down technologically so that no one can access the internet or anything else outside of the art collection. But once that is completed, we will load all of our images onto there and then post it into the library art hall. I guess this is a good time to ask Chris if you had a chance to speak with OASF in terms of allowing us to put the images onto the art kiosk.
Well, thanks for that question, Keith. And one of the reasons that I wanted to listen in on the meeting today is to try to get some more information. I'm in and out of the library regularly, and it's still not clear to me exactly where this new kiosk would be located. The library has put some other fairly good size digital screens up for navigation and information sharing. Anyway, so I'm curious about the location. The Oregon Artists Series Foundation and the artists sign a contract with the city for the work that is exhibited in the library art hall and also at the convention center. And I don't think it really addresses, although the contract with the city may address the city's right to use the images of that artwork. I mean, I don't see any sort of high risk to the artist of having their work displayed. We would just need to clearly spell that out to the people who are having those exhibitions. It's good. I'm really curious about where it is, what it looks like, how it impacts what happens in that art hall, which is right now a very clean space. There are not a lot of visual distractions. So I don't have more information, but the Oregon Artists Series Foundation Board has a meeting towards the end of next week, and this will be on the agenda. We're still trying to kind of gather information. I am curious, though, what it's going to look like, whether there's going to be any interpretive descriptors, where that content comes from. Kind of, those are questions that I would just have. You want something that's art related to look crisp and clean and just have someone in control of the content who knows what that content is.
So this would be work not just from the city art collection, but also from OASF collection? Is that?
Yes, so the library art hall is in the library, and it's to the right of the entrance, adjacent to the Friends of the Library bookstore. The kiosk will be installed abutting that bookstore wall on the right-hand side. And the reason why it's being placed there is because that's the only place where there's power and data for the kiosk. I have a picture of the kiosk I can load up, but what the intention is to first have the art exhibits, so the quarterly ones from OSAF loaded onto there, along with perhaps their sister exhibition in the convention center, and then past exhibitions of the art hall. And then there's also a community art wall that the library does every month. That is also an idea they would like to load into the system as well. So in addition to the city's art collection, they'll have the rotating OSAF art hall, as well as the city's community art wall on there.
So it would have the same art that's being seen in person?
Yep.
And also seen digitally?
Yeah.
Is that what you understand, Chris, also?
I guess that would be a question. I assumed that, let's say there's a show right now in both the convention center and the library. Large work by Gary Westford, probably a total no more than 15 works. They are all in possession of the artist. Some of the works in these shows sell. So let's say that, 2 years ago, Kristen Coons had the first show in the Level 2 gallery and at the library. She actually sold a large number of works from those two locations. So a number of those pieces are now in private collections. So, how does the owner of that artwork feel about having the work on a public library site? How is ownership described? I think that there are just a few questions, that will need to get worked through. We collect a lot of good information, biographical information about the artist, what went into the making of the work, full details about the work, each work of art, materials, date, and so on. The community wall, which is more in the center of the library, that's managed by library staff. I'm not sure how much information is collected for those works and whether those works are professionally photographed. So that'd be another just question as, content is ready to be uploaded. What are you dealing with? And is someone going to have to, the library or the city or whomever, who's going to document that? And, it seems like the descriptive material that's displayed in that space is more informal than you might find in the other two spaces. And certainly it would be a lot less formal than the descriptions that have been prepared for the collection that's displayed at the library. Those are the best labels for any public collection in the city of Salem, better than the state has, for example. So it might be, and then figuring out who is going to manage this information and update it. Those would be questions for us. It could be, I'll be curious as we all look at, how are we measuring success at who is, who's going to use this? Is there any way to figure out, who is coming to this kiosk and looking up, like, I'd like to see landscape, or I'd like to see the original works of art from when the city hall was built in 1972, or my favorite artist is Rob Bibler. Does he have work in the collection? Things like that. And then maybe also, are there links to other, major exhibitors like the Hallie Ford Museum of Art, like Salem Art Association, like things that belong to the state of Oregon? Again, the content for this could be quite robust if we kind of knew what it was going to look like.
The kind of the technology, if it's that robust program where people can actually search on it the way that they can, in the library, I for some reason, I thought it was just going to be a rotating image bank sort of the city collection with information as well. Maybe an image of it, and then I didn't realize it was also going to be possibly corollary to the OASF exhibitions, because those seem like two separate things to me. Because if it's sort of corollary to what's being shown in the hallway, it almost seems like it could be more about the artist. It could be, other works that earlier works or things like that, or more about the artist. So I was just a little confused as to what the function of this is. It sounds like it's like trying to be a lot of things at once.
It is. It was kind of thinking backwards in terms of identifying the need and then finding the solution. I think the opportunity was there to improve this technology, and now it's kind of engineering it backwards, right? So it's kind of what we're faced with. But like Chris says, I think this is a great opportunity, and depending on how our inventory, how robust our inventory is, it could include a lot.
Yep. Keith, can I ask just for clarification? You mentioned that this kiosk will be installed on the right side of the hall as you're looking towards the parking area.
Yes.
And I think that there might, and then we've got the Friends book, the Friends gift shop. The fact that it's going to be near that, I think, is good, because that shop gets a lot of traffic.
Yeah, it's about midway down the hallway.
Oh, really? Okay. So will that be in front of wall space that is currently used for displaying works of art?
Well, see, that's what we're gonna have to figure out, because that is where the plugs are in the middle of the hallway. But who's to say we cannot run the wiring, to the end of the hallway or to the beginning of the hallway?
Okay.
So I think that's definitely gonna be part of the conversation. It's right now it's just a technical aspect, and so while they're doing that, these are good topics to address.
Right, because the Gary Westford show comes down on, I think, January 20th, because the library is now closed on Sundays and Mondays. And then the next show, which is work by Nancy Eng, who is a longtime Salem resident, born and raised in Salem, in fact, goes up right after that. So if this freestanding piece is going to be in the middle of that hallway, it would be good to know that. Yeah, there are a lot of ports in those walls. I don't know the purposes of all of them, but there's a lot of stuff that looks like something can be plugged in.
Yeah, I
Besides
have
just a plug, electrical plug.
it's just an electrical plug looking item.
Is that monitor detached from the stand?
I'm not sure, but the stand is so that people can actually like
Swipe at it?
swipe.
Oh, so it's interactive.
It's interactive, so
For
you can
sure.
zoom into a
Okay.
piece and whatnot.
Okay.
I do think it might be useful as this final location is set before anything gets wired in, that it might be good to have a few people come to the library, as a group and just get a feel for things.
Did you want to show us something else?
No, I can't find it. I
No.
was looking at my
Okay.
phone for it.
Any other discussion on kiosk at this point? I guess we'll get more of an update. Actually, the person who's doing the tech on it, could we hear from them
Yeah.
about what they had in mind? Because it sounds like they were pretty excited
Yes.
about the project and what it could be, and maybe they could come, to the next time we meet to kind of
Okay.
tell us what they had in mind. What's the name of that person?
His name was David Muller, Muller.
If he
Yeah,
could and would.
I'll invite David to the next one and then he can provide us an update to the progress. Okay,
So the next item is the Northgate neighborhood Good View Park fence painting, which was the painting that was done on private property, but wasn't really deemed a mural by commission. And we just had some questions about whether, and I think we had asked Keith to look into finding a way that neighborhoods could do murals like this, in alleys or in parks, within some kind of confines of what we do as commission.
I did not meet with the parks manager yet about that that fence. After I got the information from her about having it be part of the SPIF grant and whatnot. And speaking with the sign code, because it's not approved by the commission, it's technically a sign. And they're not enforcing right now because they haven't received any complaints on it. And that's essentially why it's staying up so far. My intention was to figure out a way to have, first and foremost, that project be approved by the commission. And my approach was to have the fences on parks be allowed to be painted. But there was there was a desire to expand it not just to park fences, but to all fences, like fences in alleys and all of that. So I did not talk to sign code yet about that option. I just haven't had the time to breach that topic with them yet. But that's on my to-do list. Are there any specific, is there a path forward that the commission would like to see in terms of this specific project? I'm thinking that the commission could vote to approve of it as something, I'm not sure.
like when we did the ground painting program.
Yeah.
I feel like if we were to just change some things up to include park fences, I think that'd be the easiest route to go.
So street painting program
Yeah. That's
to include park fences,
Yes.
just park fences for now.
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Or maybe a separate program
I feel, yeah, I
for
feel like
fences because, there were certain very specific things about, the street painting criteria, that wouldn't apply to the fence. Maybe it would be a, the way that our neighborhood was thinking about it was sort of an alley beautification program, but it, not all fences are in alleys, but it would be something that would allow neighbors to, especially for tagging, to keep people from tagging as if they painted a fence
Yeah.
a different color. Or a mural that their kid would design or something. But if there could be an outlet that I know you wouldn't want to just say willy-nilly, let anybody paint whatever they want on their fences. So if it were like the street painting program, but it would be set up with different parameters than that.
Because I see this fence painting as kind of like a hybrid to the mural, because the street painting program is all on public property. There's no private property involved with that, whereas the fence one is completely on private property.
Right.
However, the parks or the neighborhood association got behind it, and were the reason behind the grant. And I think that if we can tie it to a community grant program, and I talked to the manager of the parks program, she said, not every park and neighborhood would be applicable for this kind of community engagement and support. And because it was really all the neighbors in the neighborhood wanting this to be done, that's how it happened. And so I think, and so Jennifer mentioned that it'll only work if there is a supportive neighborhood.
Right.
And there has been instances of that fence specifically being tagged. And speaking with a community member, the artist is in there within a couple of days already fixing it up. And I'm not sure how they're self-organizing, but they were able to collect the approvals of the fence owners, the private fence owners, but there was no signed agreement with them. And that's kind of what the city is looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to, but is concerned about is ensuring that on our property, we have the ability, or not on our property, but there's an ability for us to check what is being put up on there and getting the community support. So, no, I like the fact that we have the street painting program. We could use some of that, like the elements of the street painting program I like is it got the neighbors involved. Like 60% had to be in approval or in agreement with the design.
The houses adjacent.
Correct.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do something like that with the park fences. But with the mindset in the future of other fence properties, not just parks.
What would be the first steps to creating something like that? And would we have to also discuss this with the sign code?
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like that's where we always bump heads.
Exactly, because the sign code is, their purview is over everything visible. So if it catches your attention, that they consider that a sign. And so that's something we would have to talk with them about. But speaking with the sign code, they said, if anything is deemed a mural or piece of public art, then it's exempt from the sign code.
Okay.
So somehow if we can get it to be approved as a piece of art, we should be good. Good to go.
Again,
Keith, can I ask a follow-up to that? No?
Sure.
So I have a friend who recently painted in their alleyway in downtown. And I know that it was deemed a sign by the city and they were asked to take it down and remove it. And I'm kind of personally curious as well, because you mentioned like if they determine that it's a sign, but that theoretically it could be determined a mural, who makes that decision? And at what point do we get involved?
Are you talking about the one on a dumpster?
It was the one behind Alley Cat and Amadeus.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So,
They did.
Yeah.
the sign code, said, hey Keith, there's this, painting, has there been any application turned in? I said, we received no application. And so she said, okay, then I will follow up with them and say that they have the option of going to the art commission. 2 months later or whatever, we still haven't received it. And so I think last week maybe, sign code asked me one last time, like, did you receive any application? I said no, and so it sounds like they
Yeah, it's just removed.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was
it's,
removed, yeah.
yeah, so that was the reason there was nothing on my radar about an application except from the sign code saying someone complained that it was graffiti.
Okay.
Be interesting to backtrack and talk to the people involved and say, why didn't you feel that you wanted to apply to the commission? Because there is that perception that the commission is, doesn't approve things, even though that's not reality. So, it would be good to change that public perception and maybe going directly to the people involved. Might be interesting. Do you know those people?
Yeah, I've asked them and they just said that just looking at the application just kind of scares most of them away. And also the fact that if they already had a plan, they feel like they had to change it up a lot in order to like appease the public, for the whole public to be approved of, and everybody's just kind of given up on the graffiti thing until like the recent one we did. Because of that, because they didn't want that, especially not downtown when they've tried it before. I believe they tried it at the cake shop, but it just, with the historical aspect to downtown, that makes it almost impossible to paint down there. So, and I think the person that was living there, I think he rents that space and he just had like a shot kind of fence. And then his buddy is also a buddy of mine, was just like, hey, would you paint this? It's like, yeah, you're gonna have to take it up with the city, and it didn't really go as planned. But yeah, it's very hard to get artwork downtown, especially in the alleys.
Yeah, anything historic, I mean, that's one of the mural code's policies is that, or criteria is that it's not on a historic building, or I think it can be in the historic district, just not a historic building or contributing buildings. Which many of them are, if it's brick.
No, that one wasn't brick, it was like, yeah.
And there was a new construction, I think, across of the YMCA. It was, I think, the Courtney Veterans Housing, but there, in the very beginning of that project, someone asked about painting the garbage shed adjacent to it, which is facing, I think, Court Street. And I gave them the information, I just never received an application. So, but that's one of the things I have on the agenda is I took the city of Milwaukee's application and put it into this Alchemer. But looking at the questions, it still might be daunting for artists because it's asking, like, what are the dimensions? Who owns the building? What's the purpose of it? How is it diverse? All of these things that are maybe not necessarily what artists are thinking of, to do a project, but it's a legality behind what, the information we need, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay, well, yeah, that's really good. Well, maybe let's move on to the subcommittee reports, the maintenance of Drummer and Rooster. How's that coming along?
No updates from Lee Immonen, except that he said that he took a look at the black discs last month and will be providing a quote for the repair of it. Just to give you guys an update, the quotes from the two contractors of record for evaluation of the discs were between $2,000 and I think almost $10,000. And so we decided to combine mobilization costs and ask Lee for a quotation on that work.
So did you say when he'd have that in?
He hasn't said when he's gonna have it.
And Krista, you want to talk about the social media plan?
Sure. So last month we finished off the year doing legacy tributes. So it was featuring artists who have just made a large impact either on the Salem community or the Pacific Northwest community at large. So we finished off the year with a tribute to Susan Trueblood Stewart, who passed away last year. And I know that was really well received. And then this year, looking ahead, we actually started the year off with a essentially call to the vacancies that we have on the commission. So just putting that forward and letting everybody know that we are searching for 2 new people to join us. And Trevor was really helpful. He created an infographic with that as well. So I don't know if we've had any applications since. Keith, I know you sent out a blast as well to some other organizations, but hopefully we'll get some movement from that. And then the rest of this month will be focused on some community-based projects that would not have been possible without either volunteer or community support to start off this year and then kind of look forward. So one of the posts this month will be on the Eco Globe in terms of everything going into that. So some things to look forward on that front. Yeah.
It's been looking great. I mean, all of the, I've noticed just a whole lot more coming about the art commission. I'm wondering though, if we could have a little thing just to say, brought to you by the Salem Public Art Commission. Because some of those posts, I guess they're coming from the city, but you're preparing it, and it's really, and I think part of one of our goals was to raise awareness about the commission, what the commission does. So I'm wondering if that's something that we can do, just, a little thing brought to you by, can even credit Krista, Commissioner Krista Lauer from the Salem Public Art Commission.
I like it.
Yeah.
Krista, do you give the text, the content to Trevor every Wednesday? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I have a running spreadsheet, and I usually just ping him and let him know when it's good to go. And he uploads them. So yeah.
You guys are doing great.
Yeah, thanks.
Wonderful to see. Yeah.
If you see some photos, or if you know something's coming up and then you see the photos are not that great, let me know and I'll run over to the library and take them. I did a own tour by myself of the things, but I just didn't, take the time to compose it correctly. So
I will, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there was one where I was like, I can go take it if you want me to. And Trevor's like, I'll do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and that was kind of a conversation we had last month as well about not everything's kind of professionally photographed. But yeah, no, I appreciate that offer. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else about social media?
That's it right now.
Strategic plan, workshop 1 or more goals. Did you have something in mind as far as?
Yes, I wanted to share screen, but I don't know if I can. I don't have the doc. Gotta give me a second. Let's move on to something else while I try to work on this.
Well, the draft mural application, that's also would be something you needed to show us probably. We could skip to the new date for the February meeting.
It's only 2. Okay, let me share with you this screen. Let's see, do this.
This was about the strategic plan.
No, this is, yeah.
Right, we're going back to the. I had one while you're doing that.
Yeah.
I thought something that we might kind of easily get started doing is this year's going around to the neighborhood associations. You have your end of year report that you put together. It was great, but maybe we could add some
Absolutely.
images from the collection and maybe, Krista could help on that too with choosing some, maybe taking some of your posts and making it into a slide.
Yeah.
And we can just kind of add and edit that. And I think that's something that we can, because I know some of the neighborhood associations, do like to plan in advance what their agendas are gonna be, and we can start making some requests to them to be put on their agenda.
So this is our current strategic plan or work plan. We have the 5 goals at the bottom. The first one is outreach and education. And this is what Susan was talking about. Develop and implement a social media plan. That's Commissioner Lauer. Visit neighborhood associations on a regular basis. We have a resource with the city. Her name is Irma Coleman. She's a neighborhood program coordinator, and she goes around to all of the neighborhood associations and talk about the city and engage the community members with what's going on. And then another one of our strategies for education outreach was to conduct public art walking tours that focus on City of Salem's and Greater Salem's art collections. Do you want me to just go through all of these, or do you want to kind of brainstorm the first one or this one?
I guess maybe what we wanted to do was sort of prioritize all of the goals, maybe.
Okay.
And well, some of them are easier to accomplish than others and will take more time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Too, so I don't know.
Maybe just an overview of these things.
Yeah, maybe just, I think this is the first time, that we're seeing this document.
No,
Like,
you
did we
guys
see-
you've seen this before.
I think it was kind of quickly, but we haven't really dug
Yeah.
into it.
Let's see if I can go one more. So how this document works, so in strategic plans, you work in a hierarchical kind of order. And so overarching, we have this goal set for ourselves. There you go. Okay. And so the goal is to perform outreach and education to make public art accessible. The objective is to share information with the public on the city's public art collection. And we have a few strategies to do that. One is to develop and implement a social media plan, which Commissioner Lauer has taken care of. The second strategy is to visit neighborhood associations on a regular basis. And the third is to conduct public art walking tours that focus on City of Salem's and Greater Salem's art collections. So that all falls under outreach and education. Goal number 2 that the commission identified was to serve as an advocate and promoter of art in the Salem region. To do that, one of the objectives is to increase engagement and participation with local art organizations. Collaborate with the City of Salem Library, so that's what we're currently doing with Oregon Series Artist Foundation, Oregon Artist Series Foundation. And then we have on here, collaborate with the state of Oregon, collaborate with educational institutions, the Hallie Ford Museum, and collaborate with other city departments. I am doing that with other city departments by utilizing our GIS capabilities. And
What is it?
these are for Hallie Ford Educational Institution, State of Oregon.
What is GIS?
Oh, GIS is Geographic Information Systems, so the mapping tool with the story map online, yeah. And so I think what we can do here, what I did here to advance these strategies is I sent an email and CC'd each of you yesterday. This was sent to all the organizations that Susan had on her list I think you and former Commissioner Sellers Young put together, but I emailed all of them and I haven't received responses yet, but as soon as I do, I will be updating you on them. So that is for serving as an advocate and promoter of arts in the Salem region. The next one was managing the Salem art collection. So the goal was to maintain and enhance the Salem public art collection. The two overarching objectives is to maintain this existing public art collection and enhance the existing public art collection. Let me zoom in on this a little bit more. Their strategy to maintain it is to periodically evaluate the condition of the artwork in the collection as preventative maintenance. This was last done in 2017, and what I've been doing since is just reviewing the inventory and identifying gaps and information like, you know, if they've been relocated, where are they now, etc. And then prioritize the existing maintenance needs. I think that we've been doing that so far through our maintenance program, our maintenance projects. To enhance the existing public art collection, one of the strategies that we talked about was acquiring the Library Foundation's collection, which has been exhibited together in the library. We did talk about potential agreements, but I think it's kind of being led by the Library Foundation. Under that objective, we still are actively participating in the selection process for the Percent for Public Art program. We're going to be seeing a few of those projects this year. The first one being funds deposited in the amount of about $5,300 into the art fund from the airport retrofit of the terminal building. So we'll have an opportunity to either acquire some art or, you know, relocate some of them. The next one is to seek percent for art funds on transportation capital improvement projects. This one would be a structural improvement to a revenue source for the Salem Public Art Commission. Currently, capital improvement projects that involve facilities like buildings or retrofit buildings fall under that 0.5% for art. Currently, transportation projects do not. So anytime we build a street or bridge or all of those kinds of things, none of those go to art. Now we know that art can be installed pretty much anywhere in the right of way if we wanted to. So that would be, you know, change to code, talking to finance. That'll be a lot of effort for that, but it would create another structural revenue source for the commission. Strategy B is to diversify public artwork in Salem. What we're doing there is we're advocating for the street program, the street painting program, supporting the neighborhood utility box art program, and identify sites in underrepresented areas for public art, essentially what we call art deserts within the city. We're getting GIS to help us out with that as well. Let's see. Goal number 4 was to simply increase the number of murals in Salem. The objective is to streamline and make user-friendly the public mural program's application and selection process. We've been talking about this ever since, you know, we've gotten applications to it. So the strategies include revising the current mural application to make it user-friendly and online. Strategy 2 is to commission 1 public mural using SPAC funds. We would have to identify an appropriate location, commission the artists, and select the designs. Strategy number 3 is to create a mural match program for Salem, where we would identify willing partners in terms of building owners as well as artists and community members. And the last goal that we identified is to advocate for a Salem public art plan. Our objective is to foster conditions for the creation of a Salem art plan. strategies to that is communicate with the Salem City Council and city leadership. Currently, we're doing that by annual reporting of our accomplishments and desires, as well as inviting stakeholders to our meetings and activities. Strategy 2 would be to explore funding sources for a public arts manager in the form of grants and fellowships. I currently do not have the capacity to do that at the moment, but ideally that's what would fund a position in Salem. That's some lofty goals for the commission. I want to take a temperature read. Does that sound like things that we discussed? Does that sound like we're in agreement? Or were there some things that we are missing?
I think you've got everything, but certain things I think I might, have a couple little comments on,
Yeah.
just how maybe the wording or the, just one thing that sticks out, not only with the mural program of streamlining it and doing the application easier, but also make it actually promote, and even solicit for murals, so to advertise it, sort of market it.
Okay, so I think this would be a good chance for us to maybe put some time into it and look at it and add notes. I can share this via OneDrive where everyone can put in their edits. Generally speaking, you can either right click and put add your edit there, or you can just simply, and you did it before, Susan, you guys wrote down here in the project notes some of your responses. But if you could do that by the next meeting, we could finalize this and actually use this as a document we present to our stakeholders.
Yeah, I think it would be great to be able to look at it individually and kind of make some comments. I don't know how everyone else feels about it. And maybe our own sort of priorities, which goal we want to tackle.
Yeah.
First, and my main thing is just to see progress. Which we do. We see things happening, which is great, but it's a really good feeling when you have a goal and you can see that we're actually doing it, so.
Can we see the outreach and education goal?
So we should, yeah.
Yeah, the first one. Can I see the second one?
Yeah.
For this one, for the collaborative pieces, is that gonna be more of us like going in and actually meeting with them, or is it like email based, or them and us inviting them to things that we hold or they hold?
Good question. When I think of collaboration, the first step I think of is meeting with them and exchanging information. Once we establish that relationship, we can talk about their interests and then our interests, and then see if we can align them and create a coalition behind something. And so when I say collaborate with State of Oregon, my hope is that there would be a connection from one of our commissioners or past commissioners like Chris Darcy, that we can, invite them to our meetings or, see what they're doing and see if we can advise or help out with them. I think that's the first step in collaboration.
A few years ago, I guess it was more than a few years ago, pre-COVID, there was a meeting that was at Pringle Hall. And it was, the commission invited the public and other representatives to come and just kind of, they reported on certain things, but it wasn't really followed up. I was hoping for some follow-up after that, on how the community could be involved in things or have some ideas, or I'm wondering whether we should have a meeting like that, a public meeting, and specifically invite representatives from the arts organizations to come and maybe even send them something ahead of time saying this is what we'd like to discuss and, we'd like to, you know. So it's not just a meeting of, us telling them things, it would be more like a discussion kind of meeting, but, that would be one way to initiate connections with the community and with the organizations.
There is a neighborhood chairs meeting, I think that quarterly,
Yes,
and I think it's coming up on the 25th of this month.
yes,
That might be something we can put ourselves on the agenda for, and talk to, or have that audience, kind of describe SPAC and what we're about and some of the neighborhood programs.
that would be in particular for the neighborhood associations.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're talking about community in general.
I'm talking about the, Howard Ford Museum and, and Salem Art Association and more of what was on the not this goal, but it was more of the, making, where was it?
I think if we could have a public meeting that's like solely focused on one thing and to one like demographic, like for example, if we as SPAC wanted to invite all the neighborhood associations and see if we can collaborate with them, hold the space and a meeting for that with certain goals like the murals or things like that, and then one for the public and business owners that want murals on there so they could just come in person or send somebody to advocate for them and at least get their information down and see like what we can and can't do. So people can have like a better understanding of how we can help and what we're trying to do. So pretty much just set a date, a time and space. But just solely focus on one thing, so we're not just bombarding them. Cause I do remember the Pringle Park one, I was there, but it was just so much going on that at the end, it was just like a lot of people having side conversations about things that they want. Yeah, everybody was super hopeful, but then the pandemic happened and
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of the survey documents in 2018, you guys planned a lot,
Yeah.
and then it just went away.
Yeah, the pandemic really set the tone.
So does this look okay so that we can provide comments, call a public meeting or meetings on specifically for neighborhood associations and then businesses? Is that what you're kind of thinking?
I wasn't really thinking about the public meeting for the neighborhood associations, because I go to those chair meetings, I can't go this month because I'm not gonna be around. Because I am the, vice chair of my neighborhood association, but I find that it's much more effective when someone comes to the meeting. I mean, we get, 25 people at our meeting, whereas the chairs, it's just the chairs, and sometimes they report back in detail and sometimes they don't. So I think it's more effective for us to go to neighborhood association meetings.
Okay.
My thought about the community meeting was to just kind of get ourselves out there in person and invite, I think the businesses is an interesting idea. I was thinking more about collaborating with the the way that we were talking about, with the local arts organizations, that's the objective. So I was thinking that we could invite people from all the arts organizations, including OASF and all the ones that you sent the emails to. And just kind of let them know that we wanna work with them and hear from them on ideas of our other goal, which is to get more art happening in Salem. So, that's more what I was thinking. And then I think the businesses, in terms of the mural, that can be more specific about murals and.
Yeah. And I think that one would be great, once the online application form, I don't know, it's not complete yet, right?
No, not at all. It's
Okay.
totally in draft.
Yeah, but like once that's completed, I think that would be a really good way to push it. And to also invite local artists, that way we can be like, look, we're gonna. And why we have these questions and
Yeah.
like, it's like, hey, look, I know not everybody likes it, but this is the way it has to go if we want more art. Cause most people are like, I don't wanna do it, but if we actually tell them like, we just need it.
Yeah.
And this is like, look, we're gonna do a run through, it's not that hard and everything's online.
I think there's examples, yeah. And the thing is, like, when people apply for it, like, I'll be there to step them through, you know, like, even if they just give me a call at the very beginning, you know, it'll make it less daunting if there's a personal one-on-one. But like what Chair Hull mentioned before, having this mural match program, I think once we have that online environment where we have, you know, applications for murals, there'll be applications for, I have a blank wall, or applications or artists saying, hey, I wanna do it, so we can match it that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, social media can play a part too when we do have the new application. And wanna, promote, that goal of promoting the murals, that can be done through social media too.
And I think this one right here, I'm really excited for. Commission a mural, because I think this will generate a lot of just a lot of energy behind it, a lot of communications. Because if we're doing it, we can, clearly communicate the process, for the rest of the public to do. So that might be one of the priorities. Oh, so you wanted, Susan, for people to put their priorities, list their priorities on here? Like, I do, this is called RACI, assignment matrix. If you wanna be responsible for this part, or consultant or, part of it, just put your name there. And then later on, we'll develop some key performance indicators, for that task or whatnot, and then any budgetary constraints. This is just to get like kind of a one-page project picture.
What are those key performance indicators? What does that all mean? I'm not
Oh,
familiar with all that.
yeah.
Output,
Yeah, so key performance indicators, there's different types of indicators. Ones are widgets, inputs, outputs, like how many applications we received this month, how many we approved. Outcomes would be how many murals were completed this month. Efficiencies would be, 2 of 4 applications went through nicely, or, something like that, but not everything will have it. But just like if we're gonna go to, say we want to set some performance measurements for visiting neighborhood associations, This could be Susan APAC here, and then inputs would be, I want to go to one neighborhood association a month, and the output or the outcome would be, there were 43 attendees here, so that's
Yeah.
where the messages came out, So it'll change depending on what you have, but it's just showing some form of
yeah.
progression.
I wonder if that could just be simplified and just
Oh.
kind of like notes.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I contacted this,
Mhm.
It looks really good though.
it's a little scary.
No, this is what,
Very professional.
Yeah,
yeah, well, yeah. That's the vibe I'm going for, professional.
yeah, I
Okay.
think, but no, I think it would be great if each of us could sort of say something, at least one thing that they wanted to kind of take on.
Yeah.
And then we could form committees based on how many people might sign up to do
Absolutely.
something. So I think that would be the first order of, it's like to kind of go through and say, oh, I could do, and then have ideas about how to implement that.
Yep.
And what help we would need from you and staff, or what we would be willing to kind of do ourselves.
And the committees could meet and then, come to our monthly SPAC meetings with a
Yeah.
report on, the progress.
Yeah. So does everybody feel comfortable with doing that for the next time we meet? Just kind of going through, I mean, Krista, you're already doing a lot. So, you've already filled in that. Matrix, whatever, but,
But I'm
yeah.
happy to do more and contribute, so, yes.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's great. So I guess we're not gonna really workshop the goal at this point.
No.
We're just gonna kind of come back and that'll be our homework.
It'll
Our
be
action
on the
items.
drive. All this will be on the drive.
Yeah, no, what I'll do is I'll share that document with you on OneDrive, so you guys all have access.
Okay, that'd be great. So the mural application, do you want us to take a look at that yet?
Not yet, but I just want to show you the progress on it, and how the application looks. So it's called Alchemer, and what I did was I put all of the questions that the Milwaukee one had. And now it's just a matter of identifying, which ones we want. Like, it says list any funds raised. So they had like a funding section of it. City of Salem, we really don't care how it's funded, but it looks like they are interested in matching contributions, so they might have a grant program
Yeah,
for it. And they want the whole budget, so that might not apply, so we don't have to answer that question. What I was gonna do is get a few applications, so enter our application in and maybe City of Portland one. And
right,
then go through the questions and say, this question makes sense, this doesn't, or these belong here.
right,
And then we can do that and then we can show it out.
okay. Do you think the next meeting we'll be able to?
Yeah, we can do that. For sure, it will have to be a workshop,
Okay,
because, no problem.
okay, so we're on to, Keith had sent around that he's not gonna be available when the February meeting is scheduled, right?
Yeah, so the next meeting is scheduled for, let's see, this calendar. The next meeting is scheduled for February 14th, which is the second Wednesday of the month. I'm not gonna be in town. I won't be back till the 26th. So, I was instructed either to, cancel the February meeting or reschedule it. If we were to reschedule it, it'll just give us 2 weeks between.
Right, it'll be the 28th, I think, and
Yeah.
our meeting is only two. Well, that would give us, if we do cancel the February meeting, that would give us an extra month to work on our responding to the strategic plan.
Correct, and I
So,
can.
way of looking at it,
Yeah,
but
and I'll also email you an update if we don't meet from legal, from the Woodview Park. For all the items that we talked about, I'll be giving you guys an update on one.
do you think we'd wanna take a look at the mural application so far? In between, or is that something that you wanna?
Yeah, I think we can workshop it once Keith got it.
Yep.
And I think that'd be best, that way we can just all see it.
Well, I guess I would make a motion then to, and then we can have discussion. Make a motion to not have the February meeting and meet in March.
Is there a second?
Yeah, also connect.
And any discussion on that? Okay, do we wanna vote? All in favor of not having the February meeting? Raise your hand. No, say aye.
Yay,
Okay,
right.
so we're skipping the February meeting.
Everyone make Valentine's hearts on you.
That's right. Gonna be on Valentine's Day. Okay, new business, city's current database system for storing the artwork collection and information.
Yeah, this one, I put on there because Chair Hall mentioned that that's something that he wanted to discuss further with us. I
Right.
know his business does that, but this was gonna be a general discussion as to how we want our
Right.
information to be shared. Krista, you've been the one intimately involved with our database. Do you have any feedback or kind of comments about it or identified any needs?
Yeah, I mean, I think truthfully, if we could invest in some sort of collections management system, it would be very beneficial. I think what we have now in terms of the Google Sheet, it's okay. I think the issue is I don't think it's easy to tell when things have been updated. People can go in and make changes. There's not a visible image with everything. There are just a lot of different steps. And truthfully, I don't know how accurate all the information is either. I know there have been a lot of changes in terms of locations, things like that. A lot of the artworks as well, there are dates that aren't in there. There's just some missing information. So I think having an actual database system would allow us to really be able to make it a little bit more easily accessible, clean it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more professional, and just truthfully easier to track. I think one of the things Zach really mentioned was being able to track locations and have a history of where things have been. That's really not something that is on that current sheet. It's just kind of where it currently is, but having an idea of where things have been previously. Also having condition notes on there. I mean, that was something on there that condition reports haven't been conducted since 2017. And truthfully, realistically, I think that should be something that probably happens every year if possible. Again, I know that's a resource and a time situation, but having those notes visible somewhere, I think would also be really useful. And then I think photography is the other big thing. That's something that has been kind of a running discussion. But the images that are in there currently, some of them are kind of more historical photos. I mean, we were talking about the fountain actually last meeting, and the fountain picture, or the picture we have right now is of kids playing in the fountain while the fountain is on. And I'm truthfully going to use that artwork at some point because it has a great story, but I also don't want to use that photo because it's not very realistic about the current state of that work. So I think investing in higher quality images so that they can be more easily shared would also be beneficial. So there are a lot of systems out there that are low cost. And so I do think investing in something like that would be beneficial. I know long term, I think one thing that I'd be interested in is also having more information as well about the provenance of some of these artworks, the history behind them, just more information about them. I know we've commissioned, especially the library works, to have informational blurbs about all the artists and the artworks, but that doesn't exist for a lot of the other works. And a lot of the artworks that we have in the collection, the data that we do have and more of the details, it's kind of peppered throughout different sources. So having one space where all of that information can live, I do think would be really beneficial long term. Sorry, that was a lot.
I think that's also one of the goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
Included in the goals is
Yeah.
all that, so.
Yeah.
And the picture with the kid in the fountain, I think that was Chair Hall. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh, I wish. That would be so amazing if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also I do understand that is a very big undertaking. I mean, realistically, that might not be something that could really be undertaken without actually having a public art manager or someone of that who really has that time to dedicate to that kind of project. At the same time, I think it is worth investing in down the line.
I met someone, the civic engagement director or the dean of civic engagement from Miami University. And I was talking about the art commission and, they have the Hallie Ford Museum, they might have interns looking for some hours that they need to do.
Yeah.
So just because we don't have the resource right now, doesn't mean we should identify the need.
Absolutely. And truthfully, I think that could be a great opportunity as well to further collaboration. And I actually did some of that work when I was an intern at the Hallie Ford Museum back when I was a student at Willamette. I know there are a lot of students who are interested, and truthfully, there aren't that many internship opportunities in Salem in the arts. So I think if there is a possibility for that, I think we absolutely could utilize that.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
I think if Commissioner Hall, who's really familiar with the different systems, could recommend a system or a few of them and get estimates on what they would cost and also what's entailed in maintaining them, how many hours it would take to do each specific task to bring it up. That if we have that kind of parameters, then we could, you know, see what it might
Estimate
be to
the
bring
FTEs,
somebody
yeah.
in to do it, or, you know, maybe someday when there is an art, you know, an art manager, that we can have that all done, lay the ground. So action items, I think we talked about, our homework that we're gonna do, of looking at the strategic plan. And, I have one comment, I don't know if other commissioners have comments, but it was just about the brochures. I participated in Magic at the Mill, Willamette Heritage Center, and I was there for 5 nights, and they had thousands and thousands of people come through, and I had the brochures on my table where I was selling things. And people were, oh, this is interesting, and they were scooping them up. So, I guess my question, first of all, is how many of those more do we have, and do we need to have opportunities to kind of get them out there at events and things? Might be able to do that, but also about updating that brochure. You know, what would it take to do that, to update it? So I don't know if you have an answer on that, or.
I don't have an answer. I put on my to-do list to get an inventory of the number of brochures that we have. I know we have, I think, 3 different types. They're older, but it would be really cool to put a new one together with the new artwork.
Yeah.
Our new websites, because the old brochures were putting the QR codes on.
Yes, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think it's time for an update.
Yeah,
And that update will go through our desktop publishing people. They would produce the brochures, get them folded and all of that. But we probably need artists to do it.
and a budget, I mean, would that just be absorbed, or would that come out of our budget?
You guys we have our $40,000 budget. So it'll come out of that.
Yeah, and also maybe a list of the events that go on in the city where they could be, you know, available. Great. Any other comments?
I do. I just wanted to thank you all for the amazing meeting we had last month. Eddie, I learned a lot from your presentation. It feels like there's a new life, new spirit in Salem with that coming down the pike. I'm looking forward to more. So good job on you all for getting that through. I wasn't worried, honestly.
Yeah,
Just a little bit. But it worked out, and that just goes to show, you know, persistence and helping out with our customers, and you know,
Yeah.
so appreciate it.
It was a good story of, you know, someone, the business owner wasn't too enthusiastic about doing it, and then learning what was entailed, and you helping them out. You know, and that kind of goes back to perception too, of, you know, oh, the commission's just gonna paint things out, you know, it's still, I hear that all the time. The commission's just, oh, they're gonna paint it out, they're not gonna allow it. So the more we can have that perception be positive, because we are doing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I learned a lot about like marketing and like the power of social media through that. I knew it would work, but it's like, it really did work. And I was just like, wow, I only posted like twice about it. And like right before, like maybe 2 weeks in between, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, this works. I knew it would, but like.
Yeah, and the specific emails were like, I'm writing to support Eddie Eddie's project, you know, and so I was like, oh, he went and talked to them about it. This is really good. So, good job.
Thank you. Great, nice way to start the new year.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, if there are no other comments, we can adjourn the meeting. It's 5:00.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. See you in March.
March.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Thanks for coming, Lynn. Oops, you're muted.